The jungle has a pulse. At night you feel it in the mud that sucks at your boots with every step, in the thick, wet air that clings to your skin like a shroud. It's a living thing, this darkness in New Guinea, and in 1943 we were just ghosts haunting it. Ghosts in the service of the emperor, carrying the chrysanthemum of our division into a green hell that wanted to swallow us whole. My name is Tanaka Hiroshi. Before the uniform, before the Arasaka rifle felt like an extension of my arm, my hands knew a different life. They knew the rhythmic clang of the factories in Nagoya, the smell of machine oil, the precise fit of a gear into its housing. I built things that created, that served. Now my purpose was to serve a machine of a different kind. One that only dismantled. We were at the base of a razorback spine of rock and mud the Australians called Shaggy Ridge, an ugly name for an ugly place. Our orders were simple, as they always are. Take the high ground, dislodge the enemy. Do it for the honor of Japan. Simple words spoken in a dry tent, far from the suffocating reality of the climb that awaited us. Honor, the word was a shield, but a shield cannot stop a bullet, nor can it keep the leeches from your skin. Sergeant Kato gathered us, his face a mask of shadows under the brim of his helmet. He didn't speak of victory, he spoke of duty. He spoke of the disgrace of failure, the shame of capture. That was the fear that lived deeper in my gut than any fear of death. To be taken alive, to have my name read by my family in a list of prisoners, it was a fate worse than 1,000 deaths, a stain that would never wash away. We would succeed, or our bodies would become part of this cursed mud. My squad moved out, swallowed by the night. The only sounds were the squelch of our boots, the rustle of giant leaves, and the frantic thumping of my own heart against my ribs. I was not a natural soldier. I was too pragmatic. I saw the inefficiency in our patched uniforms, the rust beginning to bite at our equipment in the ceaseless damp. I saw the whole campaign as a complex, poorly maintained machine grinding itself to pieces, but such thoughts were dangerous. Discipline was the oil that kept the machine running, so I focused on the task, one foot in front of the other. Protect the man ahead, follow the man behind. Ito, a boy from a fishing village with arms like knotted rope, carried the Type 96 light machine gun. It was our anchor, our voice of authority in the chaos to come. The rest of us were just riflemen, specks of dust in the storm. The Type 96 was the hammer. My job, like everyone else's, was to get that hammer to the nail. The ascent was brutal. It wasn't a path. It was a vertical struggle against the mountain itself. We clawed our way up, grabbing onto roots that felt like dead men's fingers, our lungs burning, sweat stinging our eyes. The air was thick with the smell of decay, of wet earth and things rotting unseen in the undergrowth. Above us, the ridge was a silent silhouette against a starless sky. They were up there, waiting. Then, the signal. A single muffled whistle cut through the insect drone. It was time. The world erupted. One moment there was the strained breathing of men climbing a hill. The next, there was only the roar. Muzzle flashes stabbed the darkness from above, angry orange blossoms spitting death. The air filled with a sound like a giant tearing canvas. Bullets ripped through the leaves around us, thudding into the mud, snapping past our ears. We scrambled for whatever cover we could find, pressing our bodies into the earth as if we could merge with it. Forward, Kato's voice was a raw shriek. For the Emperor, we rose, a ragged line of shouting, desperate men, and charged into the storm. And then Ito opened up. The Type 96 began its steady, comforting chatter, da-da-da-da-dat asterisk. It was the sound of hope, the sound of us pushing back against the roaring dark. It chewed up the ground around the enemy foxholes, kicking up dirt and splinters, giving us the precious seconds we needed to advance. We moved in surges, from one shell crater to the next, from one fallen tree to another. We were gaining ground, I could feel it. The enemy fire was becoming more frantic, less aimed. We were close, 10 meters, 5. Then the sound I dreaded more than any bullet, the steady rhythm of Ito's Type 96 choked, a cough. A metallic asterisk clack asterisk, and then silence. A deafening, terrifying silence from our right flank where our hammer should have been falling. The enemy, sensing the shift, concentrated their fire. The storm that had been raging across the whole slope now focused on us. We were pinned down naked. Ito, report, Kato screamed, but his voice was swallowed by the gunfire. I risked a look. Ito was wrestling with the machine gun, his face a pale smear in the dark, his movements frantic. He slammed the butt of it against the ground. Nothing. He was just a fisherman. He knew nets and tides, not the intricate mechanics of a feed mechanism clogged with the filth of this jungle. Something inside me broke free of the fear. It was the man from Nagoya, the factory worker. My mind went cold and quiet, the roar of the battle fading to a distant hum. This was not a weapon of war anymore. It was a machine, a series of interconnected parts designed to perform a function, and it had failed. Machines, I understood. Men honor empires, they were mysteries, but a jammed bolt, a blocked chamber, that was a language I knew. I low-crawled towards Ito, the mud trying to claim me. Bullets zipped overhead, so close I could feel their heat. I didn't think about them. I didn't think about honor or shame. I thought about the extractor claw and the feed pawl. Let me see, I grunted, pushing Ito's frantic hands away. He stared at me, his eyes wide with panic. My fingers found the weapon. It was hot, almost searing to the touch. The darkness was absolute, broken only by the strobing light of enemy fire. In those fleeting, brilliant flashes, I saw the problem. A cartridge was wedged, its brass casing deformed. The extractor had slipped over the rim, and the whole mechanism was seized solid by a thick slurry of mud and cordite residue. A common problem in this environment, but a fatal one. I tried to work the charging handle. It wouldn't budge. I needed tools I didn't have. A cleaning rod, a mallet, but I had my hands, and I had my bayonet. I unslung my rifle, wrenched the bayonet free, and used its tip as a lever, trying to pry the bolt back. The metal screamed in protest. It was no good. I needed to get inside to clear the obstruction. I fumbled with the takedown pins, my fingers slick with a mixture of sweat and mud. A bullet struck the ground next to my head, spraying my face with dirt. I tasted grit and fear. The metallic tang of it was like the filings on the factory floor. I got the receiver cover open. My fingers, trained by years of assembling delicate components, dove into the guts of the machine. I worked by feel alone, my mind building a three-dimensional map of the mechanism. I hooked the mangled cartridge with a fingernail and pulled, but it was stuck fast. I needed something thin, strong, a wire. My eyes darted around in the flickering darkness. Nothing. Then I felt it on my own helmet. The retaining wire for the camouflage netting. It was thin, but it was steel. With fumbling, urgent motions, I tore a piece free, straightening it against the barrel of the gun. I slid the makeshift tool into the chamber, feeling for the edge of the stuck casing. Another burst of fire tore through the leaves above me, showering me with debris. Time had stopped. There was only me, my hands, and this broken machine. I was back in Nagoya, working on a complex engine under the single glow of a workshop lamp, the rest of the world gone. I guided the wire, found purchase, and leveraged. The casing shifted, just a millimeter. I did it again. It moved more. I pulled the charging handle with all my strength. It scraped back with a groan of tortured metal, and the mangled brass cartridge popped free, falling silently into the mud. I slapped the bolt forward, shoved the receiver cover back on, and slammed it into place. The whole process took maybe 30 seconds. It felt like an eternity. "Try now," I yelled at Ito over the din. He stared at me for a second, his expression unreadable. Then he grabbed the grips, settled the weapon on its bipod, and pulled the trigger. The world was born again in a torrent of sound and fire. Da-da-da-da-dat, the glorious, deafening roar of a working machine. It was the most beautiful sound I had ever heard. Ito let out a wild cry, a sound of pure relief and fury, and poured a stream of fire into the enemy positions. The effect was immediate. The incoming fire lessened, became panicked again. Kato's whistle blew, sharp and clear this time. We surged forward, screaming our battle cries, and overwhelmed the trench line in a chaotic flurry of bayonets and grenades. The fighting was over in minutes, and then that other silence, the one that comes after, the one filled with the groans of the wounded and the heavy panting of the survivors. The air, thick with the smell of cordite and blood, felt cool on my skin. In the first gray light of dawn, I saw the cost. We had taken the position, our temporary foothold on the ridge, but we had paid for every inch of it in blood. I walked back to the machine gun pit. Ito was cleaning the Type 96, his movements now slow and deliberate. He looked up as I approached and gave me a single, slow nod. It was more than enough. I looked down at my hands. They were caked in mud, grease, and dried blood. They were the hands of a factory worker. They had fixed a broken thing in the middle of a battle, and in doing so, had allowed the greater, terrible machine to continue its work. There was no glory in it, no poetry. It was just a practical solution to a mechanical problem. That night on Shaggy Ridge, I did not save the world. I did not win the war. I simply kept a machine from failing. And in that small act, I kept my comrades alive for another day. I secured my honor not with a banzai charge, but with a piece of scavenged wire and the memory of a skill learned in a time of peace. I was still Tanaka Hiroshi, the mechanic from Nagoya, and in that hellish jungle that was enough. These memories are heavy, but they must be shared. Subscribe to ensure these stories are never forgotten.